and welcome to another episode of Currency Derivatives Classroom. Today we will focus on the bank's views of trading in currency futures in India and the factors that affect trading. I'm your host Priyal Guliani, and for this discussion today we have some special guests. Mr. Rajendran, General Manager, Treasury International Banking Division from Union Bank of India, and Mr. Hemant Mishra, Managing Director, Head Global Markets, South Asia from Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you both gentlemen for joining us today. You know, we're talking about currency futures market when it's almost making headlines. It was a nascent, sort of market that started in 2008, and today we have headlines about its volumes finally picking up. Let me come to you, Mr. Rajendran, first, and, just to understand how critical and important or integral are banks as participants in this market at this point in time? Are they the main players right now?
Yes. The bankers are one of the important players in terms of providing the volumes. If you see in today's scenario, about 15% of the total volumes are contributed by all the banks. About 15-16 bankers are very active. So therefore, they provide definitely an opportunity of providing the volumes and the liquidity, which actually gives the depth into the market. So my bank, particularly, we are also one of the important players. I can say one of the important players among the public sector banks. We also contribute to quite good volumes, and we also see a lot of opportunity in earning profits in this particular segment, apart from providing as a product to our customers.
Hemant, you've not really moved into that direction, I understand. So mainly what you're talking about is the proprietary desk that is involving in the currency futures trading as a bank, as a bank at this point in time. Is that correct?
You're right, Priyal. I mean, any bank typically would look at this proposition under two heads. One is the agency business, wherein they would want to take this offering to their clients, and the second is for the proprietary trading. For the proprietary trading, there has been immense value until now, because the OTC market and the futures market have had slightly different sets of drivers. So there have been opportunities if one could straddle the two spaces. And banks happen to be in a beneficial position because they can actually straddle the two spaces without any regulatory caps other than the regular caps that apply. The agency business is where we're expecting to see a lot more value, and we're putting in our strategies on how is it that we want to cater to that space. Because increasingly more and more clients, the volume story is just very good. We clearly weren't expecting it to succeed to the extent that it has. But at $4 billion, you can't ignore that market anymore. And it's 50% of the OTC market. The OTC market trades around $8 billion. So at $4 billion, there is a strong need to come up with a strategy on how is it that we would want our clients to access that particular space. So that's very much next on cards.
Let's go down back to the basics and understand as to how, as a customer, one can access this market through a bank.
The process is, as far as we are concerned, it's very simple. The customer can do it fulfilling the KYC norms. Secondly, he should have
KYC norms similar as to any other
banking accounts. Banking accounts. Okay. Nothing special than that. The second is he should have a bank account. The reason being to offer margin. The secondly, to have an account for taking MTM positions, either pluses or minus on a day-to-day basis, which is mostly a system-driven adjustment. So he need to have a bank account linked to the derivatives. And then we ask for a simple form. If it is an individual, no complications. If it is an organization, authorizations has to be there to do on behalf of the organization. Once these formalities are there, we take the collaterals. Collaterals can be in the form of cash deposit, or it can be FDR existing, a lien can be marked, or any cash equivalents are also accepted as collaterals. And collaterals is mostly determined by the exchange. Current levels, it is somewhere around 3.25 to 3.50.
Okay.
And once the collaterals are given, then there are two options available to him. If he want to do a regular longer term trade, we provide an user ID and password. He can log in into the internet, do your trading up to the limit set up on the basis of the margin that he has given. He doesn't want to do on a regular basis, he want to do one time. Then he can call up my desk which has got a facility. So over the phone, he can request for a booking of the contract. So it's as simple as that. and thereafter on a daily basis, the contracts outstanding are mapped to the market. The profits or loss is automatically recovered in his account. So he should have a little balance to take care of the MTM losses if it comes. Profits are always given on a day-to-day basis. This is a simple process.
Before I come to Hemant, I have one more question. I mean, if at all there is a person who's does not have that much understanding of really the market, but perhaps want to, participate to hedge risks, etc. So in that case, do you also provide, advisory in that sense? Is the role of a bank as an advisor also coming into play at this point in time?
See, advisor in the sense, I do not want to suggest a view on the currency, but we can only tell them, like at current levels, whether it is comfortable or not. Because an view on a currency is, it's market determined. No, as a banker, I cannot, tomorrow he can say, you committed a level. So that's very inappropriate for us to do it. But definitely, yes, if he wants to lock at the existing levels, we can provide him. It is his comfort. We can normally say what is the trend expected, whether currency is going to appreciate or depreciate. I can't give a number.
Hemant, talking about the banks per se as a participant, are you seeing there is the movement from, an OTC market to the futures market, trading in the futures market, on the exchanges? Are you seeing that kind of a shift right now? Or is it something, as you mentioned, that you like to play in both the markets at the same level? Let's understand the pros and cons.
We're not seeing any migration of liquidity from the OTC market to the exchange market. And this is very much the way we thought it would phase out. If you look at the proposition around the product, it's meant to cater to a space and an audience who's not had access to that facility. So in some ways, this is financial inclusion in those ways. The man on the street, or someone like I, assuming I had to travel to the US, until now I've not had the means to actually go and hedge that. And as Mr. Rajendran said, my only choice until now was to go to a bank, and the bank would do a KYC and whatnot. And if I didn't have a futures choice, the bank would also want to gauge my credit worthiness, which is a fairly comprehensive process. Now, what I have as a choice is actually to go and access an exchange and without an underlying do it. So, this is one example. The SME clientele until now did not have access to this particular product as a hedge. So, these are the incremental liquidity pools that are coming in. So, the wholesale pool, which is the bigger corporates, are still very much in the OTC space. But the pool that we've currently got, the $4 billion that I referred to in the earlier, was not there. It wasn't there in the OTC market. It was risk that people were running. A part of this at least, because I'm sure a decent chunk of this is hedgers and a decent chunk is speculators. So this is incremental liquidity pool. And in that sense, it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the OTC market. It's a win for the exchanges because they've managed to aggregate this pool. And the OTC market can actually ride piggyback on this by actually straddling the two liquidities, and when they need to hedge, they don't necessarily need to hedge in the OTC. They can actually go and access in the exchange market as well.
We'll take a short break right now, but don't go anywhere as we will continue to discuss about and understanding currency futures market from the banking perspective. Don't go anywhere.
Back home, you're talking about a $12 billion market, out of which $8 billion is in the OTC space and $4 billion is in the exchange space. So a third, 33%, is actually on the exchange, which I think is a fairly successful example.